The story opens inside a vast amphitheater called the Galactic Exchange, a place where living beings and rare items from all corners of known space are bought and sold. This location is deliberately described as silent, tense, and almost ritualistic in its proceedings, like a courtroom mixed with an arena. The silence is key. It tells us that what is about to be auctioned is not ordinary and has instilled fear even before appearing. Delegates from many different alien species are present, representing the diversity and scope of this interstellar society. Their collective presence symbolizes wealth, influence, and knowledge, but also cowardice when fear enters the equation. This makes Jacques' later decisions stand out even more. Introduction of the alien girl, Lyra. The alien girl is dragged into the spotlight, shackled, resisting violently, and described with predatory elegance, silver eyes that gleam, claws sparking against restraints, a coiled frame of lethal power. She's young, perhaps adolescent by her species. Standards, but already radiates danger. She's identified as a Syrian, a species feared across the galaxy. This name immediately carries weight. The audience reacts with audible gasps, which shows how infamous her kind are. The narration notes that Syrians are legendary for their feral strength, extraordinary speed, and refusal to submit. A backstory rumor adds tension. She is the last survivor of her clan and killed 7 bounty hunters before capture. This hints at trauma, resilience, and the instinct to fight traits that make her feared and pitied, but never respected as a person. When the announcer calls for opening bids, no one responds. This silence is loaded with meaning. It isn't apathy, it's terror. Even the wealthiest aliens are too afraid to risk owning her, because it's implied that she would almost certainly kill anyone who tried to control her. This solidifies her as a symbol of uncontrollable power. Introduction of Jacques Hale, the human high in the amphitheater. One lone human is present, Commander Jacques Hale. His presence contrasts with the rest. He is calm, composed, and not driven by greed or fear. The text makes clear he has seen too many cages, which gives immediate emotional depth. Jacques has a personal history with oppression, captivity, or slavery, possibly from wartime experiences. While others see a dangerous beast, he sees a person buried under chains. This single observation flips the perspective for the reader and foreshadows the central theme: humanity's unique ability to see worth where others see only threat. The crucial moment, defiance. The auctioneer goes through the ritual, going once, going twice, hoping someone will bid, voice wavering from nerves. The girl hisses, spitting out broken words. None. Own me. This is important. She's not silent or resigned. Even in chains, she asserts her identity. That defiance resonates with Jacques. Just as the auction is about to end without a buyer, the silence shatters. Click. Jacques raises his hand. This gesture is small, but seismic. It's not just a bid, it's open defiance of the unspoken law of fear gripping the chamber. Everyone turns to look at him. The auctioneer warns him she's dangerous. But Jacques answers without hesitation. Maybe, but she deserves someone who won't fear her. That line encapsulates his core philosophy. He doesn't deny the danger, he accepts it, but refuses to let fear dictate his morality. The gavel slams. With that act, Jacques symbolically breaks the chain of fear holding the crowd. He becomes the first being to see her as more than a weapon or monster, while she becomes the first Syrian ever to be chosen not for her value as a tool, but for her right to be free of fear. Themes and foreshadowing this part plants the major thematic seeds. Human empathy versus galactic fear. Humans dare where others don't because they see individuals, not monsters. Breaking the cage, both literal, the auction cage, and symbolic fear, prejudice. Trust must be earned, not forced. Jacques doesn't conquer her, he claims responsibility. It also foreshadows that their bond will be based not on dominance but on mutual choice, something unprecedented for her species. Part 1 ends on the pivotal turning point. The feared Syrian is sold not into slavery, but into the hands of someone who refuses to treat her as a possession at all. The audience is stunned. She is stunned. And this is the spark that will ignite the rest of the story. This part opens in a containment cell aboard the Stashna Cold, sterile place meant to hold dangerous creatures. This environment visually symbolizes Lyra's emotional state, isolated, strained, watched, and treated as a weapon rather than a person. She crouches like a wounded predator, coiled and silent. Importantly, her stillness is not calm but tension. She is waiting for betrayal, punishment, or pain. This shows the deep psychological scarring from being hunted, captured, and displayed like property. Jack stands before her cage, not with guards but alone. The armed droids and security personnel expect him to be afraid or aggressive. Instead, he orders them away. This single choice is crucial. It communicates that he will risk vulnerability, which is the opposite of everything she has seen from other sentients. Jox's method, earning. Not taking the door hisses open, and Jox steps in, unarmed. This is extremely dangerous, but symbolically vital. He deliberately places himself within her striking range to prove he does not see her as an enemy to be. Controlled then, he does something even more unexpected. He sits on the floor, lowering himself to her level, and places a ration pack between them. This gesture is profoundly primal and non-threatening. By sitting, he breaks hierarchical posture. By sharing food, he taps into the oldest universal language of trust-building known across species. He doesn't speak at first. He simply waits. This silence is not weakness, but respect. He is giving her space to choose, and that is something she has likely never been given before. The first cracks in her guard, hours pass. Eventually, instinct overrides fear, hunger. She lunges for the food, but importantly, she does not attack him. Even while grabbing the ration, her eyes never leave his, showing that she sees him as a possible threat, but also as something more intriguing than prey. This small moment marks the first choice she makes of her own will since capture. It is tiny but monumental. As she eats, Jox finally speaks. "My name's Jox. Names are bridges between strangers." He offers his without demanding hers. She responds with a wary, "Why?" Which isn't just questioning his name, it's questioning why he's there at all. His answer is quiet but powerful, "'Cause they put you in a cage. And I hate cages." This line reveals his motivation in its rawest form. He is not trying to tame her or profit from her. He is trying to undo harm. And he frames her situation not as her fault, but as an injustice done to her. That subtle reframing chips away at her learned belief that she deserves confinement, planting the idea of equality. Lyra snarls, asserting, "Syrian are not pets?" This is her testing him, trying to see if he sees her as an object or a being. And Jox answers perfectly. "Good, I don't want a pet. I want an ally." This single wordless shifts the axis of their entire relationship. He offers partnership instead of ownership. It's something she has likely never imagined possible. Her silence after this shows her processing the alien concept of being treated as an equal. The slow bloom of trust over. The next several days, the text notes, "The cage door stays open." This is literal and symbolic. Jox is showing that she is not imprisoned anymore. She is free to walk away if she chooses. He doesn't chase, corner, or command her. Instead, he teaches her words, gestures, even laughter. This shows Jox's humanity at its strongest. The drive to connect, communicate, and heal through shared culture. In return, she begins to teach him her language and finally tells him her name. Lyra. Naming is deeply symbolic by sharing it. She is offering him trust. It also marks the moment she stops being the wild alien girl and becomes a person with identity in his eyes and in her own. Though she still sleeps curled in the corner, she no longer glares at him as prey or captor. Her eyes soften when he approaches, showing that her fear is fading and curiosity is growing. Themes at play. This entire part embodies key HFY themes. Human empathy as a weapon against fear. Jox uses patience and kindness where others would use force. Choice is liberation. Lyra must choose trust. He never forces it. Respect over dominance. He reframes their dynamic from owner, owned, to ally, allied at the cage. And the title becomes metaphorical. She is still in a cell physically, but Jocks has unlocked the emotional cage around her spirit. Part 3 is the pivot point of the story, where trust becomes loyalty, and where Lyra transforms from a guarded survivor to an active protector of Jocks. It's the first time they face mortal danger together, and it becomes the crucible that forges their bond in blood and fire. A moment of peace before the storm, this part opens quietly, with Jocks and Lyra walking on the station's lower docks. It's her first time outside the containment cell, which alone marks huge progress. This setting shift is symbolic. The sterile cage is gone, replaced by a vast, open space full of stars, ships, and possibility. Lyra's behavior reinforces this growth. She gazes at the starlight reflecting off the hangar bay floors, whispering the names of constellations from her homeworld. This scene is bittersweet, showing her capacity for wonder and memory, reminding us that under the wildness is someone who had a home, a culture, and a past. For Jocks, this is a test. He's letting her walk without restraints, trusting she won't flee or harm anyone. This shows how far he has come in treating her as an equal instead of a captive. It's also a display of human courage, risking danger for the sake of trust. But the calm moment is shattered by violence, the ambush. Old fears return. A group of a dozen armored mercenaries steps out from the shadows, blocking their path. They wear heavy gear, and glowing bounty contracts flash on their visors. Their presence is a reminder that the galaxy still sees Lyra as property, a prize to be hunted and sold. Their leader issues a threat. Step aside, human. The Syrian is worth 10 times your life. This single line encapsulates the galaxy's perspective. Lyra is not a person. She's currency. The mercenaries expect Jocks to step away or even sell her back to save his own life. That expectation makes what happens next shocking. Jax moves in front of Lyra and answers simply, "She's not property. This is crucial." He doesn't say she's mine or she's under my protection. He outright rejects the entire framework of ownership, publicly declaring her autonomy even while facing armed killers. This moment crystallizes his moral stance and sets the stage for what follows. The mercenaries reply coldly, "Then you die with her." Battle. Loyalty forged in fire, the attack erupts instantly. Plasma bolts blaze across the docks. Jocks shoves Lyra behind cover, drawing his sidearm and firing back. He is outnumbered, outgunned, and bleeding almost immediately, but he never retreats. His actions matter more than his accuracy. He shields her with his own body, endures burns, and keeps fighting. This is physical proof of his words that her life matters to him more than his own. Lyra watches this in shock. This is something she has never seen before. No one has ever fought for her, only against her. This shatters the narrative she's carried all her life, that she is alone, feared and unworthy of protection. That realization ignites something primal. The text says something ancient stirs in her soul. This implies a deep instinct in Syrian culture or biology, perhaps a warrior's bond or pack. Instinct awakening because someone has finally shown her selfless loyalty. With a piercing cry, Lyra launches into the fight. Lyra Unleashed. This moment is the first time she fights not to survive alone, but to protect someone else. Her transformation is vivid and terrifying. Claws flash like lightning. Armor splits, mercenaries scream and fall. The contrast is powerful. Earlier, she was small, thin, and hunched from captivity. But now, she moves like living lightning, reclaiming her full power. Jocks, bleeding and exhausted, can only watch in awe. He had imagined her strength, but witnessing it is something else entirely. She is deadly, but, for the first time, her fury is for him. It's not against him. When the last mercenary flees in terror, the docks are littered with wreckage and blood. Lyra stands trembling, adrenaline fading, staring at her hands as if afraid of herself. Acceptance instead of fear. Here comes the emotional climax of part 3. Lyra looks to Jocks, expecting fear or disgust. This is important. Every other being who has seen her like this has recoiled, called her a monster, or tried to cage her again. but Jocks doesn't recoil. He smiles faintly through his own blood and says, "Remind me never to play cards against you." This light human humor disarms her. It tells her he does not fear her even at her most terrifying. That single line shatters her internalized image of being a monster. Lyra blinks in disbelief, and then laughs. It's described as a soft, broken, wild sound. The first time in the story, she has laughed. This laugh is the release of years of fear, and it marks a massive shift. She has stopped fearing what he will do after seeing her true nature. Thematic meaning, this part embodies several core HFY themes. Human courage inspires loyalty. Jocks fights against impossible odds purely out of principle. And this awakens her loyalty. This part begins in Jocks' quarters aboard his ship after the brutal dockside battle. The tone contrasts the chaos of Part 3. Everything is dim, quiet, and slowed. Jocks is badly wounded, bandaged across his ribs and shoulder. Barely conscious from blood loss. Lyra is described as sitting cross-legged near him, her claws gently tracing the bandages. This image is important. The same hands that tore armored mercenaries apart are now trembling with care. She is exploring what it means to protect without harming, as Jocks stirs awake. She watches him with an expression that mixes confusion and something new, concern. Concern is an alien concept to her. No one has ever been close enough for her to worry about. This moment signals that Jocks has become part of her inner circle, her pack, in Syrian terms. Guilt. And the fear of losing Himmlia speaks hesitantly, struggling with the human language he's been teaching her. She says, "Wounds. Because of me." This is her first real admission of vulnerability and guilt. Before now, she has only expressed rage or suspicion. Here, she fears that her presence endangers him and that he might regret choosing her. This is the first time she shows fear of losing him emotionally. Not just fear of harm, Jocks answers softly. "No, because of them. And because I wouldn't let them take you." This line is vital. He places the blame squarely on their attackers, not on her existence. It shows her that her life is not a burden to him. This reframes her worth. In her own mind, she is not something that causes destruction just by existing, which is what she's been taught. Then he adds with a wry smile, "Besides, you saved me too." Acknowledging her role as savior empowers her. It confirms that she is not just a passive, protected being, but an equal force who contributes. This equality is the heart of their growing bond. A choice with no chains over the next days. Jocks heals slowly. During this time, he deliberately gives her freedom of choice. He leaves the ship's airlock open, programs the navigation for nearby neutral worlds, and tells her, "If you want to go, no one will stop you." This is a watershed moment. Every being she has known either caged her or tried to kill her. No one has ever let her walk away. She actually does step toward the open door. The story lingers on this moment, her standing there, starlight spilling in, claws flexing as the void of freedom beckons. This is her chance to be free in the only way she's understood freedom, alone. But then she looks back. Jocks is asleep in the captain's chair, one arm still bandaged, utterly vulnerable. He trusted her enough to sleep in her presence. That trust hits her harder than chains ever could. She walks back inside and closes the hatch. This choice, her choice, marks the true turning point. She is no longer here because he claimed her. She is here because she chooses him, declaring partnership that night. She finally speaks her decision in the only way her culture understands, through a ritual gesture. She kneels before him as he wakes, places her palm over his heart and says, "Not owned, not prey. Pack." For Syrians, this is a sacred declaration. The act of naming someone as family. It means she will fight, live, and die at his side. It's not submission. It's chosen allegiance as an equal warrior. Jocks, understanding the weight of this, kneels back and places his hand over hers. "Pack," he echoes. This word becomes the anchor of their bond. It seals their shift from protector and protected to true partners. Themes emerging in part. For this part deepens the core HFY themes. Freedom is only real when there's a choice. Jox proves trust by letting her go, and she proves loyalty by staying. Healing over conquering. Instead of taming her, he heals her soul by offering respect. Humans form bonds, not chains. Jox embodies humanity's strengths, creating family where others see only danger. Lyra's identity transforms here. No longer the wild alien girl or the feared Syrian, she becomes Lyra, Jox's equal and chosen companion. Ending note of Part 4. Part 4 closes quietly but with deep resonance. The two of them sitting side by side on the bridge, watching stars pass by, not as captor and captive, but as packmates. She leans her head on his shoulder, tentative, awkward, but trusting, and for the first time, she looks peaceful. Serves as the emotional and climactic resolution of the story, where tension between cultures gives way to unity and mutual respect, and where Kaylin finally finds her place in the world, not as a possession, but as an equal. It is the culmination of everything that has been building: Rion's defiance, Kellen's gradual healing, and the galaxy's shifting perception of what humanity truly is. The final part opens with the aftermath of the feral hunt, in which Kaylin, driven by old instincts and residual trauma, nearly escaped the compound. When she collapsed in the snow, Rian did not chain her. He carried her back instead, cradling her like something both fragile and fierce. This scene becomes the foundation for her transformation. Now, Kaylin awakens in Rion's quarters, wrapped in warmth. Surrounded by soft lights and faint music, a deliberate contrast to the harsh cages of her past. This marks the symbolic rebirth moment of her character arc. For the first time, Ellen speaks in full sentences without hesitation, her voice steady yet soft. She asks Rian why he didn't let her go. He responds not with a lecture, but simply, because you deserved someone to stay. This simple line embodies the dim of unwavering loyalty that has defined Rian from the start. Unlike everyone else who approached her as something to own, Rian approaches her as someone to stand beside. This answer breaks the last chain around Kellen's mind, the belief that she must either obey or escape. She realizes she can choose, and she chooses to stay. Meanwhile, the alien dignitaries who had mocked Rian's bid are in turmoil. The auction house, fearing a scandal, has summoned them to witness an official inspection. Their intent is to prove that Kaylin is still uncontrollable and thus invalidate Rian's claim. But this hearing becomes the setting of the story's climax. When the officials arrive, expecting a raging beast, they instead find Kaylin standing tall behind Rian, not chained, not trembling, but calm, alert, and proud. The room stills. The same alien who called her wild meat now stares as she walks forward on her own, places a hand on Rian's arm, and bows not in submission, but as a partner. It is an unmistakable gesture of trust. The dignitaries are stunned. They realize that something has happened which none of their cultures could achieve. A human earned the loyalty of what they believed was untamable. This revelation sends ripples through the chamber, sparking heated whispers about human resilience, empathy, and the strange strength of their bonds. Kaylin then does something even more shocking. She speaks directly to the dignitaries in their trade tongue. Her words are measured but sharp. She tells them that they broke her body but could not break her will, and that it was the human, not them, who saw her as more than a weapon. Her voice trembles only at the very end when she declares that she belongs to herself, not to anyone else. Then she stands beside Rian, shoulders squared. This is the emotional high point. Kaylin becomes not just Rian's ward but his equal. The auction house, unable to deny her clarity and consent, legally transfers her status. What was once a purchase is now redefined as a partnership. Rian signs the documents only after Kaylin places her clawed finger beside his, marking it of her own will. The story closes with them leaving the auction world behind. They board Rian's ship under the silent gaze of the dignitaries. Outside the spaceport windows, the cold stars glimmer as Kaylin steps aboard, no longer a captive, no longer wild, only free. She sits in the co-pilot's chair, tail flicking idly, eyes fixed forward. Rian straps in beside her. Without a word, the ship lifts from the dock and vanishes into the black dot as they depart. A final message arrives on Rion's comma. A simple note from an anonymous alien spectator. Humans are dangerous. Not for their strength. For their hearts, that single line encapsulates the story's HFY message. Humanity's greatest power is not dominance or force, but their ability to reach across the abyss and choose compassion even when it seems impossible. It is what turned a wild alien girl into something far greater, a free being with a future.